Hello and welcome to Sahaja Online. My name is Melanie Pundit. It's wonderful to be here with you for this afternoon here on the East Coast of North America meditation session. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, I'll just go over some housekeeping notes. You will have noticed that your participant lines are muted. We can neither hear nor see you, but you should be able to hear and see your instructor, me, Melanie Pundit, today. If you do have any questions at any point in this session, please take advantage of our Q&A and chat function. Use either of them to communicate with us. We will have some time at the end of our meditation today, at the end of these 45 minutes for Q&A. But if any questions come in and we can find a chance to answer them, I will definitely try to intersperse relevant concerns or questions that you may have to truly make this an interactive experience and one that's a reflection of those that are here in our audience today. We will be together for the next 45 minutes. There will be a transition in about 30 minutes, so if you're only able to join for the first half an hour, the last 15 minutes will be a second guided meditation. We encourage you to stay for the entire thing, but if you do have to drop off at any point, that's absolutely fine. If you do have any distractions that may get in your way, sounds, notifications, beings, human or animal around that might get in your way, go ahead and take a minute to turn those sounds off and communicate to those around you that you will be meditating for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So we'll begin by looking at the results of our poll. So those results are going to come on your screen right now. Thank you for taking a few minutes to answer those questions. So from what we can see, we have regular meditators that have been with us from 6 months to more than 2 years, and we also have first-timers or newbies in the crowd. This is intended to really suit everyone at any point, wherever you are. For those of you that have heard and learned these things before, refreshers are always useful. And we will be interspersing both learning, basic, and a little bit of intermediate, and also getting into the experience. The experience is truly the most important part about Sahaja, and we'll try to make sure that we have a balance of both here today. So thank you for taking a few minutes to answer those questions. Welcome to everybody. Our syllabus for these 9 weeks, because this is a series beginning today and going through June and July every Wednesday, we are going to be going through all of our subtle system, beginning with the happening that takes place known as self-realization. And week by week, we'll be getting into a little bit more detail about this system within us that is getting enacted and that is turning into an absolutely useful vehicle for our growth through the Sahaja meditation technique. And so I do encourage you, I hope that you'll join us and learn with us. So this week's session is about the happening, the actualization of self-realization. So what is that, and what is the experience of it that we are going to focus on today? So what self-realization is it is the awakening of our inner energy within us, that energy which for the most of us is unknown. We're not aware that there is within us, hypothetically, because it's encouraged absolutely that you treat all of this as a hypothesis, as for many of us, this is foreign or new information to us, although it is incredibly ancient, that within the sacrum bone at the base of the spine is an energy coiled in 3.5 coils. That is our triangular bone at the base of the spine that in medical science is known as sacrum or sacred. That energy is in a dormant state. And when it is awakened, it rises up from that dormant state in the base of the spine, up our subtle system or our system of energy channels and centers. These are our energy centers. And as it rises up, those culminating at the 7th energy center at the crown of the head, that culmination, that happening, when our inner energy rises up and culminates at the crown of the head, that happening is known as self-realization. So that potential within us, like a seed has a potential when given the right conducive environment, that seed, when given all of those elements, is able to release that primule, that helps that seed transition, completely develop into its fullest potential. And so that's what's happening in the Sahaja technique. So the culmination of our inner energy at the crown of the head. This is known as yoga. The word yoga actually means union. So it's the union of that which exists within us, that inner energy within, uniting with that energy which exists all around us, that yoga or union. So just taking a brief look at our subtle system, which we will be getting into more in detail week by week. Again, we're starting at the base of the spine, that triangular bone, the kundalini or inner energy within us. And we're recognizing that we have those 7 energy centers within us, or chakras, each of them responsible or can be attributed to all different characteristics from the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And we will get into those chakras as we go week by week. From the first at the base, just under the sacrum bone, all the way up to the 7th energy center at the crown of the head. I've got a little video to kind of give a little bit of a 3-dimensional perspective on that inner energy and how it awakens and rises up that subtle system within us. As we meditate, this experience is actually a visceral experience. So what you're seeing is that sacrum bone and the kundalini, and it in its 3.5 coils rises up from that point, from that dormant state, up the central channel within us. We also have 3 channels. We'll talk more about those week by week as our inner energy is rising up, which puts us into a state of meditation. It's a visceral experience. It's an experience that can be felt, not just believed. That would make this blind faith, which it absolutely is not. It is a visceral experience that we can feel on our hands and that we can feel on the top of our head. And we're going to actually experience that today. Let's go ahead to our next slide. So how does it happen? It's so fantastic. How does it happen? Well, it happens simply with our desire, just by wanting it. As we're treating this like scientists, imagining this to be a hypothesis, we have to break through that doubt that a scientist would have to giving it, this hypothesis, potential that it can actually manifest within us. And that is our desire. If we want something to take place, we have to put things in motion to enable that desire to be manifested. So simply wanting to test out this hypothesis, leaving that door ajar of potential, of possibility, and not blocking it completely with doubt. So having that desire keeps that door open to enable the experiment to completely be manifested. There is an ancient saying in India, which is that what is required for this inner energy to rise up and culminate at the crown of the head, to receive that experience of self-realization is, and this is the translation, the receiver has to have the desire, and the giver has to have the capacity or the authority. And so with those 2 things in place, the ability to receive and the ability for that person or that individual who is giving you that experience, that authority, it takes place. And self-realization is something that has been known about throughout the world, known in so many different languages and so many different traditions, from nirvana to moksha to simplification of that yoga or union within. So we're approaching it as a hypothesis, and it's a verifiable experience, looking at this like an experiment in order to reap the benefits of it. So as we prepare for our meditation, we will be taking advantage of some very simple gestures and affirmations in order to unlock this greatest potential within us. I'll be guiding us through in our first meditation, which will be just the experience of self-realization together. We'll be using our right hand. You don't have to memorize these. I'll be guiding us through, but just to give you an idea, for example, on number 1 and number 4, you'll see our right hand is on the left side of the heart. And we are putting our attention on different energy centers or chakras within us. And that affirmation is the antidote to actually clear that darkness, those clouds within us that block our inner energy from rising, or those impurities. So the quality of the heart is the connection with our spirit or our pure self. So with our hand on our heart, we're going to close our eyes and silently say from our hearts, I am the pure spirit. The final step at the crown of the head, and I'll guide us through each one of these, is taking the center of the palm and placing the center of the palm on the crown of the head. That point that was soft in our infancy, it's known as the fontanelle bone area, or the little fountain, as it's translated. When we take that center of the palm, we place it right on that point that was soft in our infancy, spreading our fingers so that we're applying some gentle pressure to the top of the head, gently pressing and rotating that area. And again, what we want to do is express that desire for this happening. As it takes place with and only with our desire, I want to experience my self-realization. So we'll be doing that together through our meditation. What happens when we get that happening of self-realization is we are immediately placed into this potential to meditate, to experience this sixth sense of self, which is being in the state of thoughtless awareness. And the definition of meditation by the National Institute of Health is to focus our attention and suspend our thoughts. So when we have that happening of self-realization, we will be able to focus our attention and suspend our thoughts, focusing our attention over the top of the head. We may experience that. I expect us to, at least for moments, experience that state of thoughtless awareness. So we're directing our attention up and above the top of the head, not in the future, not in the past. Neither of those matter at this moment. When we want to practice meditation, we are aiming to experience the power to be in control of our thoughts. There is a tremendous misconception that meditation is about losing control. And as much as it may feel like that at some point, what we are doing is losing the control that our mind has on us, compelling us to focus on the future and the past. It's important to think that if we want to be able to unlock the benefits of meditation, we are practicing not focusing on those things that don't matter at this moment in the state of meditation, and that is the future and the past. Neither of those are relevant right now. So we're focusing on the present moment, directing our attention, and I'll be guiding us through there. What we're doing is finding a gap between our thoughts, a space in between each one of our thoughts. It's where we have no thought, yet we are completely aware. If we imagine our thoughts like a sine wave, they are constantly moving, constantly active, so active that when they are incredibly frequent, we can see only those thoughts. Each one of these blue dots is a representation of each one of our thoughts just bouncing and bouncing, coming and coming, non-stop bombarding our mind. As those thoughts reduce through the self-realization and the meditation that ensues as a result, the space in between our thoughts is more observable as it extends, that green horizontal line, that gap, the space between those peaks. And as our thoughts reduce even more, that space expands. So much so that it becomes more observable in meditation rather than entertaining our thoughts, rather than focusing on those peaks. We are absolutely focusing on the valleys, those gaps in between our thoughts. And the final thing that happens when we meditate is we start to experience things. We start to experience the proof of this happening, and we may feel that visceral experience on our hands and on the top of our heads. I'm not going to tell us what it's going to be. You are going to share that with us in our meditation today. So that being said, we are right on schedule to have a wonderful guided meditation, which will be our self-realization experience today. If you have any questions at this point, go ahead and chime in on those. And if you don't, what we will do is get right into our meditation today. Wonderful. All right, great. So what we want to do for our meditation is we're sitting in our home position. Our palms are open on our laps, and our eyes are closed. We don't need to have glasses on as we are focusing our attention within. If we would like to open our eyes, we can also look at something that doesn't trigger our mind. We've got a nature scene on the computer. Looking at nature, looking at things that don't stimulate our thought is what we truly want to do. But simply we can sit with our hands open, palms open, fingertips apart, and our eyes closed. As we focus our attention within, we initially feel or observe our thoughts. Even when faced with no visual stimulation, we are still being bombarded by activity, by thoughts that correspond to the past or the future. In order to silence those thoughts, what we want to do is have that confidence within ourselves that we can get into that silence, focus on this present moment, and not be tempted to be distracted by thoughts that correspond to the past or the future. The simple statement, which we can say silently within ourselves, whenever we find ourselves being distracted or entrenched in thought, is no thought matters right now. No thought is important at this moment. Disempowering that activity and helping us get through that forest, that jungle of mental noise in order to emerge out into a clearing where there is no noise from without and no noise from within. Our focus when we meditate is in the palms of the hands and or over the top of the head. We may find ourselves typically focusing in the mind, observing thought. Whenever that happens, we can silently again say, no thought is important right now. And see if we can bring our focus again up and over the top of the head. We're going to begin by taking our right hand and placing it on the left side of the heart. The right hand is on the left side of the heart. And as mentioned, this is the area that corresponds with our pure self, our spirit. That me that we recognize that is not tied to our physical self, our image in the mirror, our name, where we were born, what we believe, that self which is much deeper than all of those things. It's not defined by our age, by how much money we have or what car we drive. It is defined by something much greater. When we close our eyes and we recognize our pure self, that self has no superficial attributes. And so we'll ask the question within ourselves, am I the pure spirit? This spirit that is not this body, not this mind, not this ego, these habits or conditionings. Am I the pure self, the pure spirit? Keeping our left palm open on our laps, we'll bring our right hand down to the upper part of the stomach on the left side. So our right hand is on the left side of our stomach, just beneath the rib cage on the left side. This is the third energy center on the left side. And it corresponds to the quality of self-mastery. Again, connecting with that pure self within us. Let's also ask the question at this point, am I my own master? Am I my own teacher? And if we find it helpful, we can ask the question a few times so that when we repeat that, whether silently within us or out loud, that we are getting to the depth of the meaning of those words. Am I my own master? We'll then bring our right hand to the lower part of the stomach. Our right hand is near our left hip. This area within us corresponds with pure knowledge, truth that is undebatable, that knowledge which can connect us all. If that truth, that pure knowledge exists, truth that is undebatable, that is intrinsic to us all as human beings, I want to experience that pure knowledge. We can silently say within ourselves, I want to experience pure knowledge. Let's bring our right hand back up to where it just was at the lower part of the stomach, the upper part of the stomach. Right hand is just under the rib cage on the left side. And here we now, having expressed that desire for pure knowledge, we're going to nourish our energy centers. And so if we have within us pure knowledge, if we can tap into that truth within, then we are truly our own masters. We can guide ourselves with that guiding light of truth from within. So here we will affirm, I am my own master. I have that truth within. I am my own master, my own teacher. Bringing our right hand up to the heart, right hand on the left side of the heart. With the eyes closed, focusing on that pure spirit once again. Affirming at this point, I am not this body, I am not this mind. These things do not define me. I ultimately am the pure spirit. I am the pure self. What we're doing with these gestures and affirmations is helping to clear our energy system, each one of various energy centers, to help clear the way for our inner energy to rise up. Let's put our right hand back on the lap, palm open. We're going to keep going upwards. 3 more steps in this process of beckoning our inner energy up from that sacrum bone at the base of the spine, up the central channel, to culminate at the crown of the head. So with our desire to let go of any impurities which are within us, that happening will take place or will grow for those of us that have been doing this before. Let's take our right hand and place it on the left side of the neck, right hand on the left side of the neck, where the shoulder meets the neck on the left side. And we can turn our head to the right just a little to open up that area on the left side of the neck. Each one of these steps, as we move our hand, our intention is to focus on our energy center. If we get distracted with the movement or feel uncomfortable at any point due to our physical self, the intention is to guide our focus. If our body is uncomfortable and that is distracting us, we can at any point return our hand to our lap, sit in our home position with our palms open on our lap, and use our focus or our attention if we are uncomfortable at any point using our hand. So with our right hand on the left side of the neck, turning our head to the right, here we're going to let go of all impurities that are sitting in this energy center. And in this energy center, what holds us back is guilt. That practice of blaming ourselves for the past. With that misunderstanding that by blaming ourselves, we will resolve the past or change it. So recognizing that the past is gone, blaming ourselves is not a step towards resolution. So let's silently from our hearts let go of our guilt by silently saying, I am not guilty for anything at all. I do not blame myself. I am not guilty for anything at all. Every time we do this exercise, we get deeper into the meaning and the depths and the potential of each statement. This one is also a truly deep one that gets unraveled as we do it again and again. Let's take our right hand and place it across the forehead. This is the sixth energy center. We're resting our head into the palm of the right hand, so we can bend our head slightly forward with our right hand on the forehead, focusing on our sixth energy center at the forehead. This area is obstructed through anger, resentment, and blame. The antidote for those negative baggage that we continue to carry around, the antidote is forgiveness, letting go of all anger, resentment, the desire to seek revenge. Again, with that misunderstanding that by staying angry, we will punish that other. It isn't a step towards resolution. So here we'll silently say from our hearts, I completely forgive everyone. And I forgive myself. I completely forgive everyone, without thinking of anyone in specific, in general. I forgive. Let's bring our right hand back to the lap, palm open. And do the final step, which is our right hand on the crown of the head. Raising our hand up to the crown of the head, we're gently going to press and rotate at the crown of the head. So as we press and rotate our scalp, not focusing so much on our hand, but our scalp, the movement of our scalp, giving that seventh energy center a gentle massage, we say from our heart silently, I want to experience my self-realization. I want to experience my self-realization. Letting our focus culminate at that point where our hand meets our head. And then slowly letting our hand rise up about an inch over the top of the head. You can move the hand around, up and down, right over the crown of the head, and see what we might feel close to the top of the head or farther above. You may feel something farther above the head. We may feel it very close to the head. Without thinking about it, just observing. And then we can switch hands, bring the left hand up to the top of the head, slightly above. What do we feel close to or farther above the top of the head? Keeping our focus in this present moment, not analyzing or processing the experience mentally, just observing like a scientist, what is the effect of this experiment? What do we feel close to the head? What do we feel farther above? And then finally, let's open our hands on our lap and then raise our hands off of the lap so that our palms are open in front of us at the level of the heart. Hands are open in front of us, fingertips apart, just as we observed what we may have felt over the top of the head. Let's put our focus in the hands, on the fingertips, on the palms, without thinking, just observing what sensations we feel in the hands. The results of this experiment, tuning into a very subtle experience. We can slowly bring our hands back to our lap, slowly bring our meditation to an end, and open our eyes. Wonderful. You'll see on your screen in a moment another poll, a few questions, just 2 questions regarding what you experienced in this self-realization experiment. Did you observe any changes in your focus, your stress, your mental noise or thoughts? You can answer as many of those. Did you find yourself having less thoughts? Did you find no change at all? Or were you able to focus more on this moment? Did you feel more relaxed? And then the second question is regarding what did you feel on your hands or head? What was that visceral response? Did you feel nothing at all? Are you not sure? Or did you feel something? Any of those possible experiences that you see in those responses? So thanks for taking a few minutes to answer those few questions, and we'll talk about what we experienced and then get into our second meditation before we finish today. So let's look at what we've got. Wonderful. So most of us were able to focus on the present moment. We didn't have anyone that didn't have any change at all. So all of us had something positive that happened, either less thoughts, calmer, more relaxed, and many of us focusing on the present moment. That power is being released. So that's wonderful. And then the visceral experience, again, none of us had no experience at all. We all had something, whether it be the movement of energy. Many of us felt warmth or pressure. Many of us felt tingling sensations. And some of us felt the cool experience. So I didn't tell you what you would feel. You felt it. You told me. Of course, I've been doing this for about 25 years, so I know what happens. Why did we feel that? Well, very briefly, let's look at our subtle system. When our inner energy is rising up, as a healing energy, is working to cleanse within us, that happening, that process, that work, as that cleansing takes place, all of those obstructions are released within us. That work is produced or produces heat. Just like any kind of work is an experience of energy, and it's going to produce friction or heat. And so if we feel heat on the hands, the fingertips, the top of the head, that's that cleansing that's happening. All of the impurities are being cleansed within just through the process that happens in Sahaja. If you feel cool, this energy is intrinsically a cool energy. So as the whole system gets cleansed, as all of those blockages get pushed out of the way, your meditation may progress. And I didn't want to tell you that. So let's get into the second meditation and see what happens when it progresses. So I'm not telling you anything. So let's get into our second meditation and build upon that first one, not thinking about it heavily, but just seeing what happens as we build upon our self-realization experience. Again, glasses can come off, palms open on the laps, eyes closed. Before we get too entrenched in thought, we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. Let's get back into that state of thoughtless awareness. Let's see if we can let our focus rise up from the base of the spine to the top of the head, and we can use our hand to guide our focus. Cupping our hand in front of us, slowly raising our hand from the base of the spine to the top of the head. Any movement that we do in Sahaja is not just a physical motion. It's a reflection of our desire. So in this movement, which we can repeat a few times, we are again beckoning our inner energy up from the base of the spine to the top of the head. And we're also guiding our focus. We're guiding our focus upwards, ultimately navigating our complete attention to the crown of the head. Once our hand reaches the top of the head this last time, let's see what we can feel close to or farther above the top of the head. This is where we want our focus to lie. Not in the mind, not bouncing around from thought to thought, but above all of that activity, in this region over the top of the head. So we're exploring this area, seeing what can be felt, and keeping our focus there. Let's keep our focus over the top of the head as we return our hand back to the lap. Our palms are open on our laps, and our focus is absolutely above our mind. No thought is relevant at this moment. Looking for the present moment. If we try and think about this present moment, we find there is nothing to think about. There are many tips and tricks that will get us into that zone of thoughtless awareness. Focusing over the top of the head, becoming more aware of this present moment, less aware of the past, less aware of the future, until they are no longer relevant, no longer a part of our reality when we are in the state of meditation. That only reality in meditation is now. Not reacting to sound, not entertaining thoughts or any mental noise, but continually trying to bring our focus above the mind, less aware of any activity, any thought, and more aware of the experience of existing in this present moment, more aware of that gap between our thoughts, and more aware of the visceral experience of meditation on the hands and on the top of the head. And let's sustain that state, holding on to it whenever we do reach it for a moment or two, and enjoy being in that state of meditation in thoughtless awareness for a few moments. Let's bring our hands up off the lap again to the level of the heart, palms open, focusing in the palms of the hands. What are we feeling on the fingertips in the center of the palms? And then let's check what we're feeling over the top of the head once again. Bringing one hand to the crown of the head, observing any sensations close to the top of the head or farther above on that vertical axis, without thinking about it or analyzing it. And then switching hands, what do we feel with the other hand close to the top of the head or farther above? Keep our focus there, slowly bringing our hand back to the lap. Once we're done observing, bringing our meditation to an end and opening our eyes. All right. So let's look again at what our experience was. There are a few questions on your screen now. 4 questions, the same 2 questions initially. How was your focus, stress, and mental noise or thoughts during this meditation? What did you feel on the visceral plane? Did you feel anything? And if so, what? And then just 2 questions about this session. We appreciate your feedback. Taking a few minutes, and let's see how our progress is. What's going on now after our second meditation? All right, we're going to end the poll. If you didn't get to answer those questions, I apologize. Let's look and see what our progress is. Again, no one felt nothing. No one observed no change. So we had some progress. Again, less thoughts, most of us. Calmer, most of us. More able to focus on the present moment, most of us. And all of us felt more relaxed. So that's wonderful. That's truly wonderful. The visceral experience, again, nobody felt nothing. So we all felt something, whether it be the movement of energy. None of us felt warmth or pressure. I really did not want to tell you that's what happens, but what happens when you progress in meditation is that work has taken place. The cleansing has taken place. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it happens in stages. Different levels of cleansing needs to take place. But once we get through those obstructions and the warmth subsides, we will feel more of the cool. And so you felt that. When that happens, we also feel more of the experience of the entire process, what's happening on the hands. So wonderful. Perfect. Thank you so much for answering those questions. We've got a few minutes for question and answer, but I will leave you with a little bit of homework today. You want to nurture your self-realization. Once you've had this experience, it's putting you into that ability to be in the state of thoughtless awareness or meditation. And so to help it grow, we want to get it going more and more, and it will get better as we build upon it. Twice a day meditations is best. Mornings before we're incredibly active, and evenings before we faded out completely. So first thing in the morning and before we're exhausted at the end of the day. 10 to 15 minutes, whatever time that we can give to just getting into that state. As many seconds, moments, minutes that we can get into that state of thoughtless awareness. That process is cleansing our system and is helping us to grow and establish all of these qualities that are revealed through the process of meditation, which we'll be talking more about week by week. Thoughtless awareness, whether in meditation or not in meditation, is an incredibly wonderful practice. Not thinking so much. We're good at thinking. Can we experience not thinking? And if you're not doing foot soak, that is information is in our video library. Learning how to foot soak in our evening meditations is a wonderful way as well. So if you're not doing any of this, you don't have to do all of it, but taking small steps to do a little bit more than what you're already doing is going to help you progress. So just adding one more thing into your commitment to this is going to enable it to get even better. So I see we do have a question that came up. Let me take a peek and see what it is. All right, wonderful. Does Sahaja help with depression and anxiety? That's a wonderful question. It does, absolutely. When we talk next week, we'll be talking about our 3 channels. So we will definitely talk about the root cause of both depression and anxiety, which is an imbalance within our system. As this process is cleansing within us, it's reducing the imbalances. So it's absolutely reducing the factors that ultimately manifest as depression and anxiety. Great question. This has been wonderful to meditate with you. I am so always pleased to be here with you on Sahaja Online. I hope we'll get a chance to meditate again in the near future. Hope you'll join us for our next session. Have a wonderful week, and I look forward to meditating with you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.